All right, we'll go ahead and call the Statutory Parks Board meeting to order. We'll start out with roll call.
Here.
Commissioner Trustee Laird. Trustee Coates and Chairman North, we're here. So we do have a quorum, so we will get started tonight. We'll go ahead and go through this. The only thing we're going to have on the agenda for tonight, as far as structured items, is we're going to have Michael go over the proposed parks budget, and we'll look at that, and just so we have a chance to get familiar with it. Go from there. Go ahead, Michael.
Okay, thank you, Chairman, Trustees. I'll start with I have two budgets in the Parks Department. I have a mountain budget and a lake budget. I'll start with the lake budget. That's a two-page setup. The first page is the actual budget of expenses. The second page is revenues. Let's go to the revenue page first, so I can provide an understanding of our revenue stream, as the lake budget is directly paid for by this. There's
Michael, before we get too far along, let's go ahead and say the Pledge of Allegiance.
Okay. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sorry, one more thing we need to do is approve the minutes from our last meeting on April 2nd.
Make a motion to approve the April 2nd minutes.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? So moved. All right. Now, sorry, we will go on to revenue
Okay.
for the lakes.
So, this sheet I provided, this is my worksheet that I use, in creating the budget. You can see the actual revenue streams for the 21-22 year, the 23 fiscal year. Looks like I'm missing one, or I have a number wrong. Anyways, the last three fiscal years, to kind of indicate, the 25-26 revenue estimate. I just updated this, based off the fee increases that were approved at our last meeting. And so basically total revenue estimated for this upcoming fiscal year is $1.223 million. That's down at the bottom in dark green. Math going on here. That's our total expected revenue. Now, the trick with the lake is a significant portion of this revenue comes from lot rent. Lot rent is due May 19th, so that comes in this fiscal year. And so that's, some of that's carried over every year, to basically pay for the upcoming year. And so our total revenue is $1.23 million. I guess, are there any questions on, would you like me to go line item by line item?
Well, I do have a question. You got the trade release. Seems like in 21-22, everything was substantially higher than it has been since.
So what happened there is, before I came on, there was staff in Road and Bridge and Parks that they were pretty lenient on adhering to the May 19th payment deadline. So there were individuals in the cabins and the trailers that would pay in installments, wouldn't pay till the end of the year. And so some of that got carried over, that revenue got carried over into that fiscal year from the previous one, because it's due May 19th, but if they pay after June 15th, it goes into the next fiscal year. So that's why that $634,000 is so much higher, and same with the cabins, is so much higher than the more current years.
Well, you had the same thing though on the camping. up in, Black Beach, West Side, Fremont, Okie, everything. I mean, that year it was higher than it was the following year and even the year after that. So,
That might have been, I'm trying to think, I don't know if that was part of the COVID restrictions. I don't think it was.
but 22, 23 should have been over that. So I'm just
Right.
wondering because trying to make the numbers work.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that decline is, or why those were so much heavier. That year was basically I hired on in March, and these were the numbers I was starting to get, receive, from the past parks director and, staff. We have better tracking systems now, better understanding of what's going on, and less carryover from fiscal year to fiscal year.
Okay. We're looking at the revenue portion.
Of the lake, it's the second.
That's where we started. So you didn't miss much. Okay. No, that happens. So,
There's a few items in here. With the new rules, county parks is not charging alcohol permits anymore. That's part of the area use application or shelter rental. If they're gonna sell it, they'll go through the clerk, but that won't be on our revenue stream anymore. That was pretty small. The wash house, I'm not sure what the wash house park is. I think that is now moved down into the miscellaneous income for bathhouse laundry. And I think my staff may have combined in recent years the laundry machines and the fill station. They're both coin operated. And so I think that may have been combined in deposits, but I'll have to check that because sometimes we get one big bag of coins versus two separate bags.
okay.
Some things that, the bottom line items, the reimbursements, that's been on this sheet ever since I got this sheet and started using it. The equipment auction at the lake, those items are auctioned just like any other county item, but that revenue's not yet been turned back to the lake fund. So, that's why there's no income levels there. And at this point in time, I'm estimating at the lake, I'm estimating $1.22 million in revenue. Looking at an admin cost, or it's an administrative cost. Under the management agreement, the county's allowed to take an administrative cost for management and whatnot. That money could be used for peripheral items at the lake, not directly. The Bureau Rec doesn't have to see reporting on it or carry over on it, but it still needs to kind of be affiliated with the lake, whether that's assisting Road and Bridge in their Gray Reef Road match with the federal highway grants or something else. So last year, I was going to take an admin cost for the first time, but when I started looking at the carryover funds and funding our budget, it seemed like it was a little close, and I wasn't quite sure if we should do it. I'm estimating that at 20% this year, $244,677. So that's included in the actual budget here, which is the first page for the expenses sheet.
Now, Mike, we can
Go ahead.
For that admin cost, we can actually use, I know Bishop's Point Road in there has been an issue for a long time. My understanding is that we could actually utilize some of that to help out on that road or not.
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay, since it does go to our parks and.
It
it's-
does go to Bureau Rec Parks, and it's not part of their, not all of it's part of their management area.
Right,
So yes, there, Gray Reef Road, we could probably, use it for, possible equipment that would be purchased but used throughout the parks, not just the lakes. Is another avenue for that. That's still brand new, so I'm not exactly sure, but that's my understanding from conversations with Bureau Rec. So overall, the lake budget, I know the county commissioners requested that we do cuts. And I haven't made significant, really any cuts to this proposed budget for fiscal year 25 at this time. For a couple reasons. The lake is funded by its own revenue source, so it doesn't affect the general fund. Over last year's budget, I've decreased it 1.13%. It looks like a decrease of $13,548. Couple of things. Most of those decreases happen in the staffing sector at the top in blue. There's a significant increase in unemployment insurance. I'm not quite sure what that's going to entail exactly. I increased the personnel training by $1,000 because I have an additional full-time staff out there, and so I'd like to at least have funding for all three staff out there for training. Repairs, maintenance, and contracts, I increased that, or no, I left that at 7,000. Mostly what that's for is we need to do some electrical work at our water well and our lift stations. EPA requirements are requiring that we have, are going to require that we have backup generators for when power goes off. And so we need to do the wiring to have those. Rather than purchasing generators, we're looking at leasing them because we're a seasonal system, and there's no point in us constantly maintaining generators when we could lease them and have them out there for 6 months.
is that a single phase for?
Honestly, I don't
Three-phase.
recall what it is. And so I do have an electrician that's gonna come out and kind of give me a ballpark figure for that. Other increases in here. This is an error. I put it on the wrong sheet. The utility services, I was gonna increase that by 10,000. Thought I was on the mountain budget for the lodge, so that would be 30,000 instead of 40,000. Our grounds maintenance landfill, this is waste connections for our trash services. I did not mark that up as an increase. It was $70,000, but we've gone over that, and we're just over $74,000 right now. So I'd probably like to bump that to 77,000 to have a line item that takes care of that. I increased the grants, Title 28, because we still have matching Title 28 funds for the Pathfinder footbridge. However, I cannot seem to find a contractor willing to talk about it or an engineer to give me an estimate, no matter how many different avenues I've tried on that. But I want to increase that to 150,000 because we're supposed to be getting approval for Title 28 matching funds for Alcoa Fields to improve the road there for access to the river, with gravel, a parking area, and possibly an outhouse, near the boat ramp that's down in that area, so. Left the capital equipment purchases at $200,000. That's the generator leasing, and I'm still getting numbers on some equipment that my staff's looking into, as well as we work on getting a new shop building out there. There may be some new equipment that needs to be purchased for that.
Michael, have you got any idea what the generator lease, what that cost would be? Of course, I guess that all depends on the size of the generator.
I do not. I believe it's 3 generator. Steve. I want to say 25,000, but my staff has those numbers. I haven't received them from them yet. They've been researching that. The master plan implementation, last year's budget, that's for site planning for the new shop building. I'd like to keep that at the same level, even though, because we'd like to improve some more campgrounds, leveling them out, expanding sites, delineating them better. Some of that can be done by my staff versus full-on contract and full-on redesign of, like we did at Okie Beach, or full hookups, or diabase. Go with a simpler model, just improve what we have and delineate it a little bit better and improve some signage. Road improvements was a line item that we've had on here that's never had any funding. I believe that was probably implemented when they did the cabin roads. I put $35,000 in that. That is to remove trees and replace probably 13 different locations in the trailer park of sidewalk that's heaved, cracked. Some of it rises 2 inches, some of it rises 4, but it's due to the trees and their proximity there. So I haven't got estimates yet to do that, but the tree work's typically expensive at the lake, partly due to location and the crowd there. So yeah, so I put 35 there. That can come out of the regular lake fund, because it's a public road and public sidewalks, so. Still, the engineer of the new water line, that's basically been spent, so we won't have anything else on that line item. And cabin water septic study, that's still on my desk to get sent out. All I can say is there's not enough hours in the day. As much as I try, there's just not enough. So we still need to work on that and get that done. Yeah, I gotta get an RFP out and get somebody, a professional, to look at what's out there and where it's at and what we can or cannot do in the future. So down below, as of March 31st, per Nick Martinez, the current balance in our water and sewer account is $112,280.64. And then our lake restricted reserve fund, which pays for everything here, is $750,250.13. Those will be significantly increased by May 19th. So before this budget's approved, we'll have approximately $868,000 added to the lake restricted fund, and approximately $29,000 added to the sewer fund.
Say how much, what was the lake restricted?
Oh, what would be added to that?
Yeah.
Approximately $868,000. That comes from the lot rents and the concession contract. Our camping revenue really doesn't start to come in, and it comes in, most of it comes in between June and Labor Day. So, any questions on what I've proposed, or projects that maybe I'm overlooking that trustees have in mind at the lakes?
I don't have anything. You guys got anything? I'm sure we'll have more later on, but this gets a good start. Okay.
All right, I guess we'll move on to the mountain expenses. I came up with, I haven't done a bunch of shaving off of the mountain yet. This comes out of the general fund. The commissioners requested that we cut where we can. I need to look through this a little bit more to see where we can cut. Automatically, I've cut 5% out of the mountain budget. This is due to a supervisor retiring, and we're not replacing him. We're using current staff at this time for that. I think I left pretty much everything right at the same amount. Our contract labor went over last year. That was budgeted for 20,000, and we ended up spending an extra 11,000 there. I would have to go back and see what that is, but I believe we can stay at the contract labor at 20,000. Some of that, I think some of that may have had to do with, trying to think of their, I don't know if that was a fire alarm system, or where I came up with that. I think that came out of some other funds, so, anyways, I'll figure that out before I submit the formal budget. There's not a lot of change, a lot going on. Fiscal year 24, we had cash reserve money for bear trap shelter. That was $120,000. We didn't carry that over into 25. I know shelters are an item that has been spoken of interest to try and get something done. So I'm not sure what a good number is to propose for that, especially with the cuts this year. Our 1% number 17 approved projects. We had an outhouse replacement in this fiscal year for $40,000. Call it a UTV, but Gator, a Bobcat. We currently have a Bobcat up there that's a diesel. It's been rebuilt multiple times, it seems like. So we'd like to replace that with something with a dump bed, whether it be Polaris, Kawasaki, Yamaha, whatever. And then the other item is the 40 by 60 cold storage building with electrical, and that was approved at $100,000 in that 1% 17. So those are the big items. Previous fiscal year, we had replacing the water line from water well to the lodge. We have a new line from the lodge across Casper Mountain Road. Really haven't had significant issues with it. It's just aging. That could be postponed, and that $350,000 could not be utilized on the mountain for that water line at this time. I was gonna RFP that this year. Again, time's gotten away from me, trying to get that done. And so anyways, that item was approved to be carried over to 25. It wasn't used. So that'll probably ultimately be on the commissioners to decide, what they want to do with that. The LWCF grant for the kiosks, we took that out of the current budget. The commissioners took that out of the current budget last year. Hasn't been brought back. That grant's still valid. I don't know for how long, to do those kiosks, but, I'm not expecting to ask for that funding this year. The request I am asking for is, with the new lodge, we have, door controls on a timer. We allow the public to go in there between certain hours when we don't have staff to use bathrooms and water fountains and whatnot. We did not take into account lighting. So the lights in the lobby have stayed on. Well, they're not on right now, but they've stayed on when people are night skiing, so they stay on all night. So I haven't got a solid number on that yet. I have a request out to put timer controls in. The lobby's all on one circuit, 3 switches. But if we could get timer control on that, I think that would be. It would indicate to the public that it's closed because the lights are off when it's dark out, and just cut down on our power bill. I briefly looked at what a commercial electric range would be for the kitchen, and that's about $1,500. You might be able to get it for less. It might come in a little higher, but that a range would basically complete the kitchen. We have a freezer and we have a fridge from the old lodge that are currently operational. And we have the sinks and counters. Garrett's gonna be installing those soon, in there. So a range would provide that last step for kitchens for people to warm food and whatnot. We have the hood for it. We have the timeout controls for it. It's just basically getting the appliance.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask, is we do have that set up so that it works off a timer and not,
Yep.
okay,
Yeah, it requires a passcode to fire it up.
so,
And then the last item I have is the lodge parking lot. This time of year is very muddy. 4-wheel drive. We have the gates currently closed due to the runoff and melt. I think some 3 inches of aggregate gravel put on top of that. It's going to be a continual process, I think, for a few years to get that surface layer solidified. Lightweight SUV typically has to be in 4-wheel drive to leave that parking lot right now.
you know what the footprint is of the parking lot?
What's that?
What's the footprint? How big is it? I can't remember.
Don't recall, and I did not bring that notebook with my calculations
Okay.
for estimated gravel.
Okay.
Obviously, the Crimson Dawn fence, it needs some work. It's needed some work for a long time. I'm not sure how critical a project that is, and with our budget financials, I'm not going to be asking for that this year. So.
Question
Or-
before I forget it. So you have a supervisor quitting, so you're gonna be one more guy short. You're short already, right?
Yep.
How many employees do you really need to be comfortable and get all your work done and not have to put anything off for weeks or a year or whatever?
That depends on let's see, I currently have I have 7 full-time employees right now. I have a position for the lodge caretaker, so that's 8 positions. I have 2 seasonal spots at the lake, 1 seasonal spot, actually 2 on the mountain. One is to run Crimson Dawn. It's 2 days a week, and the other one to take care of the campsites. So I'm looking to fill those positions right now. I have some applications in. To, I guess it depends on it, at what level of operate. Right now, we are in a maintain what we have, don't improve it, and try and keep it from falling apart at the lake and the mountain.
But how many people ideally would you need, you think? I mean, I've heard complaints you don't have enough people out there and things aren't getting done, so if that's true, what do you think you would need for manpower?
Well,
If we were genies and we could grant you your wish.
If I could double my staff at both locations, that'd be great. If I could have an assistant, I don't know if you want to call it assistant director, but somebody with technical skill. Now, I have an admin, and she's great, and she does a huge amount of work, and she takes care of a lot of the financials and the QuickBooks and vouchers and things. But somebody that could assist with overseeing staff on the ground, looking at the construction projects we have, that type of thing, that would be a benefit. Because between trying to do administration at my desk, overseeing staff at the lake, and overseeing on the mountain, it gets spread pretty thin pretty quick.
Can you get us some sort of documentation just saying what you just said, what you need people for and what you would have to pay them, so I can kind of look at it and see what you're talking about, have it in my head?
Yeah, I can build something like that. But I can tell you the staff I have, they're doing a great job with what we got. So that would be ultimately what I'd like is double the staff, but we'll survive with what we have, as we always have. My assistant supervisor, who's basically running the mountain now, he's probably 2 years out, 3 years out before retirement. So that experience goes away, just like when Joe left. So when he leaves, at that time, my most experienced hand's going to probably be 7 years into the job. So there's a lot of knowledge that leaves when you start retiring people out. But yeah, I can work on something to show that. I mean, I can simply take my employee sheet and add the positions that I would need to show that. But it would be, ultimately, doubling staff would be great.
Just
Hey, Michael, have you looked into, or do you have any numbers on third-party contracting for things like the outhouses or anything like that considered?
I have not actually got numbers. That was something I've been working on, and I did not include that in my budget. The mountain, I was just trying to stay as low as I could, do that request, and I really didn't get time to get numbers from anybody. I haven't put out that would be I'd send a bid out, advertise for bid on something like that, but that would be a significant assistance to staff, especially at the lake.
That would help satisfy some of the need that Trustee Laird's discussing then?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Picking up on Trustee Laird's comment, I know we're kind of like trying to keep stuff at a maintenance level. I do think you need an assistant manager or supervisor that can, like you indicated, be on the job site when necessary. And if you're on the job site, then, or on the mountain, they can be at the lake and managing a project, or, some of the paperwork that's involved with, maybe it's working with legal department, getting the RFP put together for whatever, a bear trap shelter, the kiosks, that kind of stuff. I understand you can't be everywhere at the same time. Um, I, I'd like to just make a general point to this board of trustees and to you. It's going to look a lot different on the other side of this table next year.
Right.
And in fact, I think that it's going to look a lot different in 6 months. To the extent we can build in some flexibility, and I don't have a specific request or suggestion for you, but the sooner we get, I'll say, the professionals on this board, the sooner they can help you kind of work through the visioning and putting together, some long-term plans, and maybe we can figure out ways to increase revenue and then to do more of these projects. It wouldn't surprise me if we needed to look at an amendment to this budget in 6 months. And if the board and you were in agreement that there are some really compelling things, maybe you put off something that has been budgeted, and then you come to the commission, the BOCC, and look at some sort of budgetary change. So I just wanted to kind of make that point. We need to do this because of the timing and the time of year.
Right.
But we also need to recognize that we don't want to set this whole thing up for, inflexibility. So thanks for listening to my just kind of overall general point.
Now, you looked at the lake as far as getting the outhouses cleaned out there too, or just the,
Lake is the bigger issue due to volume, due to the number of vaults we have, and then just usage. But I haven't looked at contracting, getting that cost yet. I have two vendors that I'm gonna reach out to, before I do a formal bid for that, so I can try and get a number in. And the lake budget can absorb that.
sure, but I'm just asking about, cause I think that may be something that would be good to open up your employees to be able
Right.
to cover other things. And not only that, then it could be on a set schedule, or they go out there on a regular basis and get it taken care of. Just alleviate some of the issues, just some of the problems that you've got as far as making sure that all the personnel are available and can do what they need to do. So I think the lake would be another area that we definitely need to make sure that we look at that we examine that, just for numbers. So.
Yep.
Anything else?
Well, I'm wondering, you got a copy of what the lake people put together about what they wanted repaired and fixed out there. Apparently you haven't answered that yet, but could you explain tonight what you are thinking you're gonna be doing to improve the trailer court area?
So which letter? are you
Well,
talking
it was that document with all the pictures and everything on it.
That's the one dated February 19th, hand delivered by Corey Davison to your office.
Yeah.
Um,
But I just want to hear really right now what you have in mind to fix sidewalks and stuff like that.
Well, I'm looking at the sidewalks. Some of the other items are longer term items. Sorry, I'm looking for my response to that,
Oh,
which
okay.
I emailed that to all the county commissioners emailed a response to Corey Davidson's letter, emailed a response to a letter from John Hatcher back in June of '24. Also emailed a response to Doug Malsum's comments at the last commission meeting, and a response to a letter of concern in March of '23. Under the management agreement and the Bureau Rec, there are only certain things we can do.
I know there's an issue about cutting down certain trees to fix the sidewalk. Could you address that?
Not at this time, no. I have 2 staff. I need to get that contracted out because we're not an arborist. I need to confirm where those are. That's gonna be in this new budget. I put a line item of $35,000 in there. As for other trees that are of concern on the lots and concern about fire, the lot permits specify that the lot is as is. The permittee is responsible for the landscaping
On their lot?
on their lot, so they're responsible for.
But what about the sidewalks that are in disrepair and some of the streets?
Like I said, I've got that in the proposed budget to try and fund that.
That's what the
This-
35,000.
That's the 35,000,
Yes.
okay. When do you think that might begin?
Well, I need to wait till that budget's approved in July before I can spend those funds, so probably next fall, because I don't think the permittees out there are gonna be real happy with hammer drills and excavators and things tearing up the sidewalk and closing the road off while they're trying to get to their boat. So, next fall will be the earliest.
Thank you for the explanation.
Michael, I know you're looking for a response or maybe
You're
a
not
letter,
bringing
but
that response with me
let me
tonight.
just stop you. Are there any letters of complaint or concern that have been sent to the BOCC that you have not responded to yet, to your knowledge?
No.
Okay, thanks.
And since I've become Parks Director, actually started work with Parks, those don't typically come to my office or my desk. They come to the county commissioners.
Michael, one thing I didn't see on here was, I know you're doing work out at LSF Acres. Where have you got that?
So on the mountain budget, we have a Hell's Half Acre line item. It only has $1,000 in it. All of the grant funding for those improvements is through Visit Casper. They are the ones responsible for the expenditures of those funds. Annette recently said the boardwalk's probably gonna be done in their fiscal year 26, so probably not till June or so. I'm going to be going out with Road and Bridge next week, cause they're gonna do some of the grading improvements and some of the gravel for us. And so we've got locates, going on right now, but, we'll be looking at that. That gravel will be paid for by Visit Casper. But the in-kind match was really the staff and Road and Bridge staff assisting us. So before they get busy, we're gonna try and get them out there to assist us, and maybe haul some gravel and get it laid down.
Okay.
The other place where, we're doing some improvements, but the county is not spending the money, is Rotary Park. I've had a group that, came to me wanting to put some educational signs up there and improve the wayfinding. Rotary is paying for the wayfinding signs, and Wyoming Signs is donating the educational signs. They're calling it a geology trail. Basically, it starts right below the falls and goes up that east side. And I think we have 5 or 6 signs up to the viewing decks up there that kind of talk about lichen, talk about how it was created and whatnot. So it'll be a good thing. I think the school district will like it, and the county will pay for the mounting posts. Basically, is all we're paying for there. So So yeah, that's been going on too, and those improvements will be happening here real soon.
Okay. Anything else?
I think so.
Okay. Well, thank you for getting all that stuff put together for us. I know that was kind of short notice, but I do appreciate you getting that moving
Yeah, there'll be
forward
some
and
more
getting that-
revisions before it's turned into Tracy at the end of the month, so.
Okay. All right. Appreciate it. All right, with that, we'll open it up to public comment. Please say your name and your address.
So the way everything is metered right now, we have a main meter immediately off the tank. Things go through the trailer park, then there's a meter for the boat club, there's a meter for the marina, there's a meter for the Lakeview Estates, there's a meter for the water fill station, and there's a meter for the ski club. So the way we do the math for water fees is obviously the end users, the marina, the ski club, and the boat club all have their own meters. So we take reading at the beginning of the year and one at the end when we take the meters out. The trailer park is then the master meter off the tank minus all of those meters. And we take the 154 trailers plus our 2 rentals in there, plus there's 22 overnight sites. So plus the 22 overnight sites. And then we divide that between the 176 lots. And that's how we come up with the cost of water per lot. And so, obviously the RV hookups aren't used every day, all summer long. And a lot of the trailers aren't either. But that's the best, fairest way that we can do it at this point in time. I know in the past, before I got here, they weren't taking meter readings beforehand and afterwards. There were years where they didn't get charged for water and whatnot. And then the $150 service fee that's in the lot permit for the trailers, that includes water, sewer, and trash service. That was increased from the previous lot permit based off the estimated costs of that. And we've had a couple of overages where each trailer lot was charged, I believe, $5 additional one year and $6 and change the next. Does that answer your question on how that works?
Yeah, I just didn't know is there a meter on the old fill station that's down by the trash?
The coin operator one?
Yeah, the coin operator,
That's the only fill station.
that's your only fill station. And then there is also, so is there, on the dump station, there's water there also, right? Is that,
There's water for
Right.
rinsing out.
right, right? Well, so when we talked to you, you didn't know at that time whether there was a meter on that coin or
Right.
not. And that's what a lot of trailer people have asked me, are we paying for when everyone comes and fills up that?
No.
There is a meter on that. Okay, that's just something I can answer questions for. Another question I have for you, Michael, is I've had someone reach out to me, and I don't know if you guys first. They put their trailer up last year around Labor Day, and they were under the impression you have 1 year from when you put your trailer up, and now they're being told by your office that they have to have their trailer sold by May 19th.
So on the trailer lottery form, it explains all this, but you cannot put your trailer up for sale before there's a blackout period. I think it's February to May. I don't have those dates with me. But you have until the following May 19th to sell your trailer. So if you put your trailer up for sale, you have to sell it. So if they put their trailer up for sale Labor Day, they have until this May 19th to sell it.
Okay, that's another misunderstanding from out there at the trailer park. And again, misinformation, or else you have 1 year
Yeah.
from when you put it up. And so-
No, and everybody is provided the trailer lottery form that explains
But,
this.
people forget that and
Yeah.
everything else, so that's
But
kind
when
of why.
they come in, they get
Yeah.
that sheet when
Yeah.
they put it up for
Yeah.
sale, or even ask about it.
Yeah, no, but that's some things that have been brought up to me for, out of the trailer park that I thought just.
Yep,
so-
and they can call my office anytime and we can explain it to them.
Okay, nope, that's exactly as far as what it sounds like what happened, because they did put theirs up around Labor Day, thinking they had a year. And then, of course, when you put one up in Labor Day, not too many people are looking to get a trailer through the winter. And now, they're having to say by May 19th, so they're scrambling to get the new list and trying to get there, so they're in compliance with getting it by May 19th. So that was just a misunderstanding, I think, by a lot of people out there.
Yeah, and the old, we did a slight modification to the lottery system, recently, and that was approved by the, Rec and the commissioners. It used to be that if you don't sell your trailer by the May 19th, and then it goes to the first person on their lottery list, they can have that lot. Now, the trailer is private property, so it has to be removed. We changed that, because we were having to keep a record and we were getting multiple drawings of the same people for that reason. So now, if the trailer doesn't sell, the trailer owner has to remove the trailer from the lot after May 19th. But the lot reverts to the county to determine best use. And so that's a little bit of a change instead of, and what that does is it allows us to have more names on the lottery list instead of repeated names. Like sometimes we have 4 or 5 of the same name drawn up.
Thank you, that's all my questions, thank you.
All right. Board comments? Anybody? All right, if we have none, then we will call this meeting adjourned. Thank you, guys.